Can I testify? About 10 years ago, I was sitting in the back of the room over there in that corner during C3 conference. I was an unknown, struggling church planner. No money, no staff, nothing. And I came to C3. I sat back there in that corner. I listened to everybody speak on this platform. And I remember walking out of this conference with a legal pad full of notes. I got to the parking lot. I was very inspired. I was very encouraged. Hopped back on the car because I couldn't afford a flight and drove back to my home city. And I remember putting some of those things I learned to practice. And I remember after a couple of months, my inspiration began to turn to frustration. And my frustration began to turn to jealousy. And my frustration turned to jealousy because I was doing everything I thought I knew to do, but I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And then I had this thought in my mind that God loved the men who were on the platform speaking during the conference. He loved them more than me. Like, their churches were phenomenal, structured, organized, and I would look at them and I had like covetousness in my heart because like, Lord, why are you doing it for them and you won't do it for me? And then my heart was full of jealousy, rage, and anger. And I pastored a church for 10 years with that jealousy in my heart. The first church I pastored was called Victory Church. Of course, you know nothing about it. But I pastored that church for 10 years, and I was faithful for 10 years as I pastored that church. And I would get up every Sunday morning and I would preach my sermon to 5 people on the front row, and then 10 people on the front row, and 20 people in a cafeteria of a small school. And although I was faithful on the outside, on the inside, there was vanity in my heart. And it was that vanity in my heart that had me searching for metrics, searching for answers, searching for the secret sauce to make my church blow up. And I was searching for what a lot of you tonight are searching for, what people all around the country are searching for, 8 steps to getting your fill in the blank, your fleshly outcome from God. Right? Like, that's what we want when we come into spaces like this. When we travel from conference to conference, is this not what you want? We want 17 steps to God giving me the desires of my flesh. Never mind his perfect will. Never mind what he's planned out for you. We just want God to be our genie. And we want to know what's the secret sauce to not getting his will, but what is the secret sauce to getting my will. And I spent 10 years of my life pastoring like that. And then thumbing through social media. And instead of being focused on my own calling, I was focused on the calling of everybody else. And so consequently, I got a strong thumb but a weak soul. And I'm not focused just on my path. I'm looking to the left and I'm looking to the right, and I'm constantly distracted. And I'm trying to be this preacher and I'm trying to be that preacher. And I'm trying to sound like him. I'm trying to sound like that dude. And we have all these chameleons in the body of Christ. Everybody trying to be like everybody with no sense of true identity for yourself. And this lasted for a decade. And year after year, hopping from conference to conference and book to book, then eventually podcast to podcast, trying to find a secret sauce to make my ministry blow up. Certainly, if I did it right, God would love me the way he loves Ed Young. Certainly, Ed Young was one of his favorites, but I was not. Because I'm real dark, and I'm from Queens, and I'm from the hood, and I don't have a seminary degree. And certainly, if I had a seminary degree, my church would blow up. And this is the way I pastored for 10 years. And all the things I was seeking God for during those 10 years, he didn't answer any of those prayers. And then when the church was around 7, COVID hit the country, shut down the ministry. And I find myself in an empty box preaching to a camera for 2.5 years. Lose the little church that I had, lose the little bit of staff that I had, lose the little flock that I had. Ministry never grew over 500, 600. Lost everything during that time. It was like a death and a burial was happening to me during that time. God was crucifying something in me. It was around that time the Lord spoke to my wife and I that it was time to change the name of our ministry. And we spent 2 years praying about a name change and what God would have us to do. And during the time of a meeting, a consultant is sitting at the table and he pushes back from the table and he says, listen to me, man, when I've heard a little bit of your whack sermons, but I see a little bit of fruit in there. And when I listen to you talk, I think I got a good name for your church. I think you should just call it 2819. And I said to him, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. He said, nobody names their church after a number. He said, no, after the Great Commission. This is the dumbest thing I ever heard. And we just wrote it on the whiteboard and the Spirit moved in the office. And we prayed for the next 2 months and decided we'll change the name of the ministry to 2819. And in January of 2023, we changed the name of the ministry to 2819. And in the 2 or 3 years leading up to that name change, the Lord was dealing with my heart. Now, listen to me, pastors. The Lord was dealing with my heart. And let me tell you what he was doing. He was wringing out my heart from all of my vanity. He was wringing out my heart from all of my idolatry. He was wringing out my heart from all of my sinfulness. He was wringing out my heart from all my covetousness. Everything I was desiring, he was wringing it out my heart. Like to be famous, he was wringing that out my heart and wanted big platforms, and he was wringing that out my heart and wanted to be known, and he was wringing that out of my heart and wanted to be a millionaire. He was wringing out all of these things I had in my heart. Some of these things are not ungodly in of themselves, but the reason for why one of them was so evil. And the Lord was wringing those things out of my heart that by the time we changed the name to 2019, I was a dead man. And then I went into that name change and I made a vow to God. Listen, I made this vow to the Lord. Lord, from this day forward, I will just be faithful to you. I will be faithful to speak to whoever you place in front of me. I will be faithful whether I'm known or unknown. Don't need a big church, don't need a big following, don't need anything. I'm gonna keep my head down and I'm just gonna be faithful to you. I'm gonna be faithful to preach these scriptures as they are. I'm not gonna put things in there. I'm not gonna take things out of there. I'm not gonna sugarcoat them for nobody. I'm not gonna stand up on platforms and lie to keep people comfortable in sin. I'm not gonna be afraid to preach the truth. I'm gonna preach the truth whether it fills up a room or clears out a room. I'm gonna preach the word and let the scriptures land where they want. Watch. I made a vow to God that I would be free from the approval addiction of men. That, Lord, I would no longer do things to be approved by men. Because when you suffer with approval addiction, you will handcuff your own mouth from telling people the truth. You'll live in a constant state of compromise. And I made a decision to be a free man. I made a decision to break the chains off of my life. Of trying to appease people and trying to be kind to people and who didn't even like me. And I said, I'm gonna stop doing all that, stop being fake. I'm from New York and we're allergic to phoniness. I said, I'm gonna stop trying to be something I'm not. Watch this, I'm gonna find my own voice. And I'm gonna dress the way I wanna dress. And And I'm gonna walk in rooms as my authentic self. And I said to God, from this day forward, I put my whole life on the altar. And whatever you want to make with the rest of my life, I will be content with whatever you do with the rest of my life. And I learned to enjoy my prayer room more than I enjoy platforms.